Hello, welcome again to another episode of 55 Plus No Limits. My name is David Quiroa. I am the Interim Director for the Cranston Department of Senior Services here in the city of Cranston. In this episode, you're going to see how much fun we had during our Christmas party. In the segment that we call This Story, we're going to have our RSVP volunteer, David Lopes, among many other interesting things that we have for you in this show. So I really hope you enjoy it. And remember, if you haven't visited our center, we're located at 1070 Cranston Street, Cranston, Rhode Island. Today, we're going to be talking about RSVP. For those of you who do not know me, my name is David Quiroa. I am the RSVP Director. And here with me, I have
Lorraine Masiello. I am the senior clerk in the office.
She sure is. You're probably wondering, what is RSVP? Well, RSVP stands for Retired Senior Volunteer Program. It's a national program. It is the largest volunteer program for adults who are 55 years of age and older. It's part of the Senior Corps. And Senior Corps is part of the Corporation for National and Community Service. Well, the corporation is the equivalent of the Peace Corps, but instead of going abroad, the services are performed within the United States of America and its territories. So in the case of Senior Corps, there's three major programs: Foster Grandparent, Senior Companion, and of course RSVP. And we're going to talk to you a little bit about RSVP. So Lorraine, give me a sense of who are the volunteers we have in RSVP? Like, who are they? Demographics, more females, more males?
They're a mix, but they are mainly females. And they are very helpful. They have an activity program where they put together smile dolls for the hospitals, and for the homeless, they put together some packages. We also have volunteers that help out in the gift shop.
We have a core of volunteers that do the emergency management, which is part of the emergency response team of the city, or the CERT team. They are also Red Cross trained. I don't know if you folks realize, but Senior Services, this department, this building, is also a shelter when need be, and also becomes a command center for that matter. Now, a bit about more what the gift shop is and what they do in there.
The gift shop is a convenience for the senior center. They're able to pick little gifts and whatnot for themselves and family and friends. And the volunteers are very helpful because they take care of all the needs that they have in there, and then they come to me if they need further assistance. There is some profit because it goes back into the senior center, but it's not a traditional profit-making business.
Correct. The gift shop is actually overseen by the RSVP board. It turns out that anyone who works for RSVP, meaning in this case Lorraine and myself, we cannot do fundraising when we're actually working within RSVP. So what that means is one of the main duties of the board, who are also volunteers, is to do fundraising. So therefore, they're the ones who are fiscally responsible to oversee not necessarily the inventory, but the finances of the gift shop. And what ends up happening is that any amount of money that is accumulated through the sales of the gift shop are then in turn put back into the senior center. For example, in the past, RSVP has purchased a nutrition van. We have for a nutrition department. A lot of those who do not know the senior center, we actually cook between 1,200 to 1,400 meals a day that get delivered throughout the state to other senior centers and daycares. And this year, we added a matter of balance into the RSVP curriculum. I took a special training. We have one of our volunteers, Frank Murga, who also took the training, and we're now teaching workshops here, which is a very comprehensive workshop composed of 8 sessions of 2 hours each section, where we teach individuals how to learn how to fall, learn how to get up safely from when they're falling, and also some exercise techniques so you can keep healthy. Final area of the outreach programming that we also do is in the area of scams. And scams are very prevalent. In this program, we teach individuals, with the help of the volunteers, to protect themselves from being scammed or from swindles. Lorraine, would you like to tell your story about that phone call you were getting from the IRS?
Yes, I did receive a phone call, and you could tell it was a robocall. And they told me that the IRS says I owe them money, and to call this number. And so I wasn't going to call the number. I just hung up. But then I decided to see what this was all about. And of course, I wasn't going to send them any money. And
Never do that.
when I called back, there was no one there. I didn't get any response at all. So right then and there, I knew. I said, this is a scam. But what I did do, I did call my accountant, and he said to me he received the same phone call, and to do just what I did, just hang up and disregard it.
Right. What's unfortunate about that phone call that she got is that there are many people, not only seniors, but a great number of them are seniors, who get that call, unfortunately end up sending money. Never do that. IRS never calls you. What they do is they send you a notification via mail, so it gets to your mailbox, and that's how you get notified if you in fact owe money. So what Lorraine did there, those techniques we teach during this course. So if you're interested in learning more about the programming, how to become a volunteer, or if you don't want to become a volunteer but want to participate in the workshops that we just mentioned, the recycling workshop, preventing falls and preventing scams, don't hesitate to give us a call again, 401-780-6180. And if you have a smartphone, I invite you to download our mobile app. You just go into your app store and look for Cranston Senior, and you'll be able to download the application. And within that application, you'll be able to have our newsletter, have the pocket manual from the Department of Elderly Affairs with a bunch of resources available for you. Also the daily menu, daily activities, and also contact information for all the personnel here at Cranston Senior Center as well. Other areas that we also have volunteers is also in the dining room, where you can help be a waiter, waitress. We also have the snack bar. So there's many areas where you can help in here. So explain what the center meant to you, or what the center did for you when you were looking for that volunteer opportunity. And then, of course, then later you became staff. But from the perspective of a senior individual that came through our doors and became a volunteer, just explain that experience. How was that?
It was a wonderful experience for me because 8 years ago I lost my husband. And that's what made me come to the senior center, to give myself an outlet. And I met many friends, and they got me through the trying period. And I did what I could for David in the office, and then it turned into a part-time position, which worked out well for me because it's allowed me to move on. And that's what the senior center helps you do. You meet many friends, they understand what you're going through, and it's just a wonderful place to come to.
Thank you. Yes. So, if anything, that's the message we want you to also stay with. That you don't necessarily have to become a volunteer, but you can also become a member and come out and take advantage of all the services that we offer here at the Senior Center. As you all know, especially the ones that watch our show every month, we serve lunch every day from Monday through Friday between the hours of 11:30 and 12:45. And we also have a snack bar where you can buy food to take home. So in closing, I want to thank Lorraine for being part of this segment. And again, this segment was all about RSVP, which is the Retired Senior Volunteer Program. We are a program of the Corporation for National and Community Service, who we thank for the support of their founding. And we hope that you contact us and let us know where you would like to volunteer. Please give us a call. We can always be reached at 401-780-6180. Or Lorraine can be reached at
780-6178.
There you go.
Staff, thank you for being here today. Thank you for being such an important part of the Senior Center. On behalf of myself, Margaret, and all the wonderful people of City of Cranston, we wish you a very Merry Christmas and all the best for 2017. So let's party and enjoy today. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Mayor. Music up. Kenny. Hello, folks. Welcome once again to this segment of The Story. And today we have here David Lopes. And of course, for those who do not know who I am, my name is David Quiroa. I am the RSVP Director, which is the Volunteer Services Division within Cranston Senior Services. And I'm also the Interim Director for the department. And today we have here one of our RSVP volunteers, David Lopes, who's going to be telling us a little bit about who David Lopes is. Hi, David.
How you doing, Dave?
Pretty good. So tell me, what brought you to the Senior Center? Let's start with that, and then we'll ask you about your life.
Well, to be honest with you, I retired quite a few years ago, and I was around the house, and my wife said, you got to find something to do outside of the house.
So your wife kicked you out.
And
That's a good one.
Yeah. She said, so I said, I got a brochure from the Cranston Senior Center.
Right.
I want to check them out. And I came over here about 3 years ago, and I get involved all the time. There's no use being in an organization if you're not going to get involved.
Right.
So I started volunteering, and then we set up a chess club, which we have a chess club here now.
Right. Right.
And it's been in effect for 3 years. And playing chess stimulates the mind.
So I know you and I have had many conversations, and in those conversations you have told me about your professional life, and also you served in the Navy, right?
Right.
So tell me about your high school days. Where did you go to high school?
I've been in many schools. I started off in my grammar schools. I started off at a Catholic school, St. Michael's. Then I went to the Mount Hope Avenue School. Then I went to the Harriet T. Healy School. Then I went to the Slade Street School. Henry Lord Junior High School, and I finally ended up at the Durfee, BMC Durfee High School.
Why so many moves?
That's because the schools were you had to, in those days, wherever you lived, you had to go to these different schools in that area. And some of the
Oh.
schools only went like 2 years, 3 years, so you had to keep moving.
Oh wow.
No, but it gave a diversity in education because you met a lot of different people over the years.
So what year did you graduate from high school?
59.
59.
And I joined the United States Navy in 57 in the Naval Reserve Center in Fall River. And then that was a 6-year program. It was a 2-year reserve, 2-year active, and a 2-year inactive reserves. Because my dad told me, if you get a car, he said, the car eats at the table with you. And I always wondered why. He said, well, you know, you got to buy insurance, you got to pay for oil and gas and everything, so you got to have money to run your car. So there was a fellow at school that was in the Naval Reserve program, and he said, well, we get a check once a month. I said, that was great. Now I can run my car. So I joined the Navy.
How much was that back then?
Oh, I don't know, maybe $25 a month or something like that.
Well, that was good money back then,
Oh,
right?
yeah. And then I used to charge $2 for each of the students that went to school with me. I used to drive them to school and home. So I charged them $2 a week. My gas was like 75 cents, 50 cents a gallon, you know.
Wow.
So you
Good old days. What kind of car did you have back then?
Well, I worked 3 years on the highways, working on the highways in the summer. And I bought a 1952 Chevy. I think it was $300 or $400 in those days.
Wow. What color was it? Do you remember?
I was black. It was black.
Nice.
And I used it because I was the only one in the neighborhood that was the oldest that had a car.
So you were the coolest kid.
I was the popular kid with the car, you know.
Yeah, very nice.
So,
Now, your nationality, your heritage is Portuguese, right?
Yes, I'm a second generation Indian. My mother and father were born in the United States, Fall River. I was born in Fall River, Massachusetts. My sister, it was just my sister and I.
But your grandparents were from Portugal.
Just from the Azore Islands.
Okay.
And they came here actually to find a better life. And in those days, and they worked in the mills, and my mother worked in the shop for 40-some odd years. My father was a business agent for the union, AFL-CIO, the textile. It was all the mills, which he had me working in the mills after in the summers too, just to teach me how people worked and how hard it was in those type of business. And I don't know about today's culture, but my parents both worked, and my grandmother lived with us, and she
Okay.
spoke Portuguese.
Right.
You know, she didn't.
So if
speak-
you wanted those cookies and that food, you needed to speak
It started
Portuguese.
off with my vovô. That's what we called our grandmother, vovô, would tell me, you either speak Portuguese or you don't eat. So I had no choice.
It was survival then.
It was a survival course. I had to
Yeah.
speak the language, or I wasn't
That's
gonna.
nice. That was nice.
You
So,
know,
hey, it made you a banker.
I'll tell you, anybody today, if they can speak more than one language, it's very beneficial.
Right.
You know?
Especially at that time, it's still
Well,
today. There's still a large
Well, the
population.
city was
Yeah.
in the Portuguese now. Today,
Right.
if you could speak Spanish, you really,
Yeah.
you almost guaranteed a job today by having a
Right,
second
right.
language. You know.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
When I came out of the Navy, I went to Rhode Island School of Design,
Mhm.
and I took advertising and design. And I did a lot of college courses that pertain to the jobs that I had in my life. And from then, I worked for the Mayflower Savings and Loan. It started me off teller. I did all the work, loan officer. Then I became a branch manager. And because I speak 2 languages, there was an opening in Florida, Mass.
So you speak Chinese, Mandarin? What is it?
I speak Portuguese.
Portuguese.
Yeah.
Portuguese. Okay.
He's Orient Portuguese. And anyway, I ended up going down. There was an opening in a bank in Fall River, and I ended up getting that job because it was bilingual. I spent over 20 years in that position.
Wow. How about that? So you went in for a loan, and you ended
You know,
up actually
a
a bank officer. A bank
Yeah.
officer. Wow. Did you ever get the loan?
I never got the loan.
No.
No, I didn't get the loan. I just, it was a funny thing. I told my wife, I said, I'm going in to get the loan, and they offered me the position that they needed as a loan officer.
Now, tell me about the life as a loan officer. How you evolved in the banking industry?
Well,
I mean,
it started off like it was like diversified. You know, you didn't have people coming in all the time for loans. So it was a small bank, and they sent me out to do building inspections. I used to inspect the construction loans. I unfortunately had to do foreclosure loans. I learned the whole business, you know, hands on, and it was quite interesting. And like I said, I love the banking business. It was more like not a strict bank. It was like a credit union. You knew the families.
tell me about your wife.
My wife Peggy, she was working in a bank when I first met her. She was working for Industrial National Bank, and that was before I became a banker. But she was a banker first, and then we got married in 1969, and we had a daughter Barbara. I have a daughter Barbara, and so she quit the banking business and stayed home, and then we moved. We were living in Warren, Rhode Island, and we bought a house in Crest, and I've been here going on 47 years.
Wow.
We have a son, Dennis. He came about 3 years later. We had my son Dennis was born. My wife Peggy was then after the kids were older, she got a job with the Correctional Institute, the ACI. She was a secretary for the ACI for the intake department with the guards, and then an opportunity came up for her to work at the governor's office, highway safety in Rhode Island, and she went there and she worked there for 20 some odd years until she retired.
So you've been married now for
48 years. 48 years.
So are you organizing a big party for the 50th?
Oh yeah. Peace and happiness.
and
Relax.
happiness. So after the banking, what else did you do? What other areas?
In 1997, and I left the bank. After 20 years, I saw an ad in the paper that they were looking for someone for the Internal Revenue Service, and I answered the ad, and they sent me a letter that I was approved to go to become an IRS agent. And I went to New Haven, Connecticut, to the Internal Revenue School, and I became a customer representative for the Internal Revenue Service. And I got to be very good friends with the federal police officers that take care of the buildings and federal buildings. And I was interested in that, and there was an opening that showed up there, and I took the exam, and I became a federal police officer.
How about that?
And
Now, is that a usual transition people do, or not really?
I don't know. I could do anything I want. I wanted to do what I like to do.
Okay.
And I always wanted to be a police officer, but I never got the chance.
Yeah, because I was wondering, at that time, was it perceived to be a police officer, although it's a nice job,
Yeah.
but was it perceived to like go into the office a higher step,
No,
or be in the office would be, I don't know,
the pay rate was the same.
the same? Okay.
So I just took that, and actually it was no stress at that time until 9/11.
Unless somebody crazy would come in with a gun. then-
Yeah, you were protecting the people
Yeah.
that came in and
Yeah.
the buildings, federal buildings. It really got kind of stressful at 9/11 because then after that we used to have to
It was heightened, right?
I had to frisk everyone, with the metal detector and whatnot. So, and you had to be on your toes because you never know who comes in those buildings and especially federal.
So were you really stressed during those days? Like, did you really think, oh my God, something's going to happen, something may happen?
You never know.
Were you like ready with your gun, like?
No, the government would be would tip us off, and when they like certain times they had the Morrow building there in was it Oklahoma, the one that they blew up.
Oh, that's right.
We had that was a kind of a tip that they kind of say be on your toes about anybody in trucks parked near the buildings and stuff. So you have to be cautious, and they're more cautious today's world. And I worry about anybody that's going to where there's a large gathering of people, because you got to look at your exit signs and all that stuff to get out, because it's a dangerous time we're living in.
No, that's a great advice, folks. What David just said, and also my brother Vinny, he was one of the survivors of the Station nightclub fire, And since from that point on, I always, every time I'm at a club or a bar, I always look for the exit points, you know? And it's always good to have that mental plan, you know, how can I get out of here if I need to?
It's a life-saving situation. You and anybody that see this program here, always look for your exit signs and look around. You know, even they're telling you now, be aware of your surroundings. Look around and see if there's any suspicious people or anything, or bags that are left behind. It's a very dangerous time now, and I really worry about what's going on today.
Wow. So after police officer, federal police officer, what did you do? Is that when you retired?
I
finally, or-
retired in 2002. I've been retired 14 years.
Wow. Yeah.
I've
Now tell me
been-
the story about the time when you bought the jacuzzi for your house. How much did that cost you?
Well,
Because it ended up not fitting, right?
no, I had to build a room for the jacuzzi. I built a room around the jacuzzi. We went to, and now I never go to those places anymore. I don't go to the home shows because I went to the home show in Providence, and we fell in love with this 5-person jacuzzi. And so we bought the jacuzzi. Now, where are you going to put the jacuzzi? Well, I didn't have a room for the jacuzzi, so we built a room for the jacuzzi. The room cost $20,000 to put the addition. To put a jacuzzi in my house.
And you were a banker, huh?
I was a banker. Yeah, I took the loan. I had to pay the loan. But
That's funny.
it's just the way life works.
So before we close this segment, of course, I want to acknowledge the fact that we're in the month of December, and we want to wish everyone a happy holidays, happy Christmas, and of course a happy New Year in 2017. And for those that have not come and visit the senior center, we want to remind you of all the stuff that we have. We also have a mobile application, so you just go to your app store and search for Cranston Senior. You can download that application, and everything is there. You can get our newsletter, current news, programs, lunch menu. And as you can see, we have a lot of art here as well. And we also host the New Hope Art Gallery, and you're welcome to come and you know, really look at the gallery any day from Monday through Friday between the hours of 8:30 and 4:30. You're welcome to come and walk around the building and enjoy this beautiful art. The art is for sale. We have nothing to do with the sale of the art, but at the front desk there's a little book where you can contact the artists themselves. Well, David Lopes, I want to say thank you very much for your time.
And I'm going to say in Portuguese,
Yeah.
Boas Festas e Feliz Noel.
Is that how you say it? Feliz Noel?
Feliz Natal.
Feliz Navidad también.